Nice. Okay. Hey, what's up, everyone? Gonna continue this sketch. Ooh, this is not. Okay, cool. Yeah. So, hey, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I'm gonna be continuing the sketch I started working on yesterday. Usually don't do 2 days in a row, but since it kind of worked out, to time-wise to do that this week, figured it's good to continue this sketch that I hadn't really finished yesterday. I wasn't really satisfied, but I like kind of like the direction it was going. So I'm gonna continue on this one. Hopefully we can get this a little bit more presentable to call it at that point. But yeah, yesterday we kind of got to the point where we were essentially combining all the forms, and yeah, once we combined all the forms, I was good to start the carving away at the transition areas to make it a little more subtle. Started to kind of get a little bit more of the detail on there on these pieces. I am probably gonna go ahead and Z remesh this because I did, just because I was getting kind of lazy. I didn't want to go through the whole Z remesh process yesterday. I did start to, or I did not do Z remesh, so I got let it get really messy. Let it get really, not messy, but I worked in high poly and let it get a little too detailed too quickly for at least the resolution size, because we want something at this level still to be able to move our forms around and not have to really smooth away everything to hide all this. If you do it carefully, you can still do it. And I have some practice doing it, so it's not that bad. But usually working at something this dense, if we go look at this and see how dense this is, working at something this dense this early in the process is not what I really want to be doing. So now we have it cleaned up, though. We have everything combined. We have the transitions mostly smoothed out, so we're not going to see any of this. This doesn't really matter, but I still kind of try to clean it up a little bit, try to get these transitions a little smoother in there. But yeah, just try to smooth all these transitions out a little bit. I get something a little more presentable. And now we're gonna go ahead and take all this, this really dense one after we combined it. And I still love the arms on their own subtool, not combined either, because I may want to move those around a little bit. I can probably go ahead and Dynamesh these together instead of, so at least put these together so we can kind of fix all these transitions here that are really harsh. But other than that, I do kind of want to keep them separate just so we can still move them around and position them before committing to just being fully merged or welded together, and causing this to be just a little too heavy, and just starts getting really messy with some of these transitions and things like that. I cannot talk today. Did not sleep that much last night. We'll see how this goes, but yeah. So first things first, I'm gonna go ahead and just start to make a copy of this. So I have some body build, and I'm gonna what is the folder I named it? Go ahead and duplicate that folder. We'll always skip that for this session. We're gonna close that one. No, we don't actually need that second folder. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that folder. That's not the one we need. Oh, that's also not the way to do that either. Okay. All a mess. Let's just delete all these for right now. Delete the folder, not everything in the folder. We don't need the folder. We have all this merged in. We don't need this to be a folder. I think we have. Yeah, I guess it created a new one. I thought that it merged it down. When it merged down a folder, it didn't make a new folder. But it looks like, or it didn't make, it just merged everything in the folder and combined it all together. But it looks like it just makes a new subtool merge down together, but keeps the folder there. So we don't technically, we didn't technically need to duplicate it. So now we have two body build folders we don't need right now. But I'm gonna go ahead and delete one of them anyway, just to keep it a little cleaner. Delete all. We'll delete the whole folder. I'm probably not going to return. It's not that important to return to it anyway, so just keeping it for the sake of just in case that we need to fix something, but I don't think we are going to need to at this point. For this one, this is a sketch, not a complete character. A little bit more important when you're doing a nice, like, full character. So if we merge this, yeah, so we merge this and made a copy down here of a merged thing, a merged set of arms right here. I go off, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and just while we have this here, do something like, let's try 64. Enter, so 64 resolution Dynamesh. Let's see what that gives us. A little dense, maybe for the arms. Let's try 32. Let's just see what it looks like. I'm okay with the 64 if we need to take that one. So 32. See what that looks like. 32 is okay too. It's a lot lower resolution. Let's see. What does that look like? I'm okay with this, I think, for right now. Oh, we gotta, since we just started up again, I'll go ahead and bring the damn standard down. One of the first things I do most of the time. Maybe a little bit more up, because I don't like a really harsh damn standard most of the time. Depends on what you're doing, but most of the time it's too harsh by default. Also, clay buildup is usually too harsh by default too, so I like to bring that down. Basically, the way I work is most of the standard brushes that I use, or I still use. I use the basic ones for the most part, but you really don't need more than those. But lower move a little bit too. Yeah. But yeah, you don't need more than really, damn standard clay buildup and move. Then maybe like a flatten, like trim dynamic or H polish, but you don't need much more than that. But I don't like them at default for most of the time. So like the functionality of them, but not at the default values most of the time. Usually gonna adjust them a little bit. Sometimes we'll adjust it more than others, and changing the alphas and things like that, but not right now. These are just minor adjustments with like vocal shift and just intensity. Usually that's pretty good. Sometimes you'll change the materials too, if you want it to affect more materials in your process, but or not affect color and stuff like that. But not too often for that either. So I just want to get this maybe a little bit more in there. We're just going to leave that in there, so we're not going to connect that. So it's always going to look a little bit weird until we decide to fully connect it. But at this stage, I do not want to connect it. I'd rather have the fidelity of being able to still move it around and not commit to it, and also turn it off too when I need to, because that's one of the annoying parts when you put the arms in. You can put them on their own poly group, and you probably should, but it is still kind of annoying sometimes to have to keep turning it off and on instead of being able to just turn the subtool off. Poly groups are a little harder to work with sometimes. Still really powerful and good to use, but a little bit harder than just than just your basic subtool off and on. BIN for inflate, just inflate the fingers here a little bit. And this is also definitely not something we need to be doing right now, because we're not going to see the hands for a while, and probably at all. It's just kind of, the detail in them is not an area we're going to be working on anyway right now. Smooth, I do like to bring down a lot, because even though we do use smooth a decent amount, I don't like it to be that subtle, because it really gets rid of a lot of your forms and just crushes all the planes and different structures that you build underneath, because you can turn something like this, which is, gestural but has a structure to it, feels like something. If you just smooth it out, it just really starts to lose all that volume and all that just structure to it. And I mean, these hands aren't crazy important either, but but I do like to have smooth just down as much as I can. And yeah, so I think I said in the last video, but last stream, that yeah, I do like to just make a little gestural hand for something like this. If I was gonna make a full hand, we would just probably use some sort of base mesh or something already made, because hands are, if you need to make them, they're kind of complicated, they're more technical to make, so it's easier to just reuse one, unless you're doing a study or specifically doing something a little more gestural. You can just kind of, you're just doing something that's not going to be like, you know, a crazy sketch or anything like that, or crazy complete sketch is just going to be in the sketchy phase. Then you kind of just go gestural with it, which is kind of like when you do in drawing a lot of times with hands. It's gotta have a rhythm to them, not really all the fingers and stuff. If you do fingers, especially if you're doing like a study and things like that, it's kind of when you would approach it probably a little bit differently. I like to start to okay, I'm gonna actually change the focal length for the damp standard, so bring that into the positive, so it's a little bit more pillowy with its indents. I guess it does, it kind of pillows the sides a little bit more, makes it feel a little bit more like it makes more volume when it pushes in. It doesn't just make like a really harsh straight line. And I'm sure there's a reason on the focal length and why it does that, and you probably some science behind it, but I do not know, and I'm not the right person to ask that. Okay, something real simple for hands. And even at this one, if I do want to add hands in, like somehow into like the final showcase or something like that, I would probably just bring in some hands. Or I guess I could try to make some hands separately and then just attach them on here with some like making their own subtool, just and stick them on and then duplicate over. Usually it's just going to be a cube for the palm or something like that, and then you make fingers out of cylinders, cubes, or whatever, and then you just Dynamesh them all together and you have a full hand that's a little bit more complete of a hand. But doesn't matter too much for this one right now, especially if I just am trying to focus on the head. But okay, so have that in there a little bit, so we can kind of get a little bit more of a feeling with the arms being together instead of just being these really segmented things off to the side. I'm just gonna bring it in here, and it's nice also because you can Dynamesh and figure out all this for the arms in a separate subtool before you commit to it, and that you don't have to worry about it welding in here too right now and stuff like that, because that can be very apparent. Yeah, something like that, and then bring this forward a little bit more. Yeah, it's gonna be harsh, but actually one other thing I'm gonna do is go C to take the color, BPA, MRGB at the top to get material and color. Then we're gonna go color, and behind my camera, fill object. Okay, that's gonna force them. So now it's not gonna change the color every time we switch. Sometimes it's nice to know what you're on, but it definitely looks very different when it's not the same color. So rough arms in there. We will keep that for now. I think I want to bring on the top piece. I want to bring this to make this a little bit more like that, a little more defined like that. I think that's cool. Cool. And then maybe even bring up the back a little bit. Like that. Okay, cool. Looking okay. So now we're back on the body, and so I want to fix up what I wanted to start with was duplicating this piece up here. We are going to go ahead and say that this is, I'm going to name one of them backup. Let's name it Dynamesh. Honestly, we'll name it back it up like that. Dynamesh. So this is the just if we need it for whatever reason, Dynamesh version before we did a ZRemesh. We are going to need to use it to do the projections. So I'll put that on top actually. And then this is going to be ZRemesh. ZRemesh. Cool. ZRemesh. Cool. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put solo on for this one. And let's get this ZRemesh. Let's try to do like 2.5. We'll see how that goes. But this is gonna ZRemesh this and then bring it to a cleaner topology and a lower topology, and then we're gonna project these details back on. Okay, cool. Let's try that and ZRemesh right now. We can see the active points at the top here. This is super low poly. Weird that that got weird. I don't hate that. That's not too bad. 5,000. I'm okay with that. Let's put this to 3 and let's try that one more time. Let's do this. This 3. And ZRemesh again. Weird that that's a little weird. Okay, that's not bad. Okay, no, that's actually good. Okay, I will. Ears are gonna get weird. I kind of want to redo the ears. Let's try this again. And make it a little BIN. And there's ways to. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Weird. BIN. There's ways to define your loops a little bit better with ZRemesher. I don't really use it that much, but I've done it before. But a lot of times it's pretty good by default without having to get really complicated with that. Okay, let me see. So here's a little weird, but not too bad. No super glaring issues with the topology. I'll go ahead and take this. I can live with that. Eyes. Should we have opened the eyes beforehand? Probably. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna delete this one. I am going to open the eyes, I think, of this one. Let it ZRemesh with the eyes in, because I think that's going to be a little bit better, especially if I imagine this one's going to have open eyes in the end. I'll turn solo off, turn this back on. I do like, every time I do this, I do kind of like the way it looks with the sphere over the head, like some sort of helmet. Maybe something we can do something with that. But let's try to get these eyes in here so we can get something put in place. And then ZRemesh, or yeah, probably Dynamesh or Sculptress even. But get something in place. Yeah, something like that. Let me see. Make sure that it's not too weird, jutting out weird. But yeah, I think I usually like to put the eyes closed because I think it makes it feel a little bit more sculptural, I guess, sometimes. But I think I want the character to have their eyes open, so I'm okay with moving to that now. Okay, something like that. Let's do a quick little transparency to make sure. This is not the correct way to measure them, but it works. Let's see, so that's about the size of that. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's good. I think that's good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and use that. I'm gonna go ahead and mirror and weld. So those are the eyes inside the sockets. Now we're gonna have to go ahead and adjust these eye sockets just a slightly, just so we make sure we're not we're kind of wrapping around the eyes and not letting the eyes come out of the sockets too much, but and not letting them not follow the shape of the eyes like a lot also, because it's also there's the part where we can have the eyes coming out of the socket because it's not matching it correctly. But then there's the other part where we can have it really far off the geometry that it's not even following the shape, and that's also not realistic. So just kind of we'll just adjust little bits here just to make that wrap around the spherical shape of the eyeball. Pull out some of the geometry where it's clipping through. Push in where it could probably use a little bit more. You can actually carve away, I think, up here a little bit more. Yeah, I think I'm okay with carving away up here because I kind of want the eyes to be a little more sunken. I think that's kind of cool. And now we're gonna, everything we just did right now, all this, the effort we're kind of working on right here, we are gonna go ahead and just erase all that now. For this, because I don't really want to Dynamesh, again, I'm probably gonna use some Sculptress on this, but let's just go ahead and start carving. What's going on there? Oh, that's the eye. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought was happening. Nope. I think we switched over. Yeah, okay. Cool, yeah. Gonna look weird for a bit, but bear with me. Yeah, okay. Shape's not too crazy actually. Depends on how open we want the eyes, and this is where a lot of the personality is going to come from, both in eye size and then even the expression of the eyes. But we need to at least set up this geometry to work first before we do that. Before we really define that expression of the character. Carve away the eyeball here, so we get those eyelids defined in there. Oh, I was sitting so slouched. Okay, cool. And I don't want to get too detailed, but I do think we can probably use Sculptress. I'm gonna go ahead and use it a little bit. Just try to define that eyelid down here. And up here, and then I want to also kind of start carving away at this eye, this inner eye, so it's not just right beneath the surface. Cool. Let me see if I can find a good reference for some eyes. Cool. Yeah. All right. I'll keep that lower lid a little bit further down, just give it that kind of more, I don't know, almost like tired eyes, I guess. I don't know if that's the right term, but yeah, I'm just gonna start pulling that down a little bit on this side. We have that flow here. There goes my dog. Okay, something like that to get shape in there a little more. I don't want to smooth too much. Very large clay buildup. Just start carving some of that away. Yeah, and see how dense it's getting there. It's okay to have it a little more dense, especially since we're about to zero mesh this, so we can afford to. We're not going to be moving this one around too much anymore. We can afford to give it a little bit of extra high geometry in these areas for more detail, just so we can also get the projection to be a little bit nicer when we get to that piece. Okay, we'll smooth it just a little bit. Let's do it larger. Yeah. So yeah, Sculptress is really cool. I do like Sculptress. I think it's very easy to get messy because you can just be back and forth. with your you can be back and forth with your carving away, and then giving yourself a lot of geometry, and then like smoothing it out and smoothing it out and giving yourself a lot of geometry, and then carving away and like giving a big stroke and getting like really decimating your geometry. So it's really easy to get stuck in the back and forth. I do tend to like Dynamesh a lot more in the ideation phases, but for stuff like this where I don't want to Dynamesh the whole thing and lose detail all over, I just kind of want to carve this new detail in the eyes. I think it's good for this. I also think maybe for helping define the ears, also BIN to inflate a little bit, carve that away. I think helping define the ears and making the holes and things like this, building on geometry and stuff, I think this is a decent area to use it as well, just to give stuff there so we can a little bit of a cleaner geometry projection when we get to that point in a little bit. Also, these ears are way too far back on the backs. I don't want to move it too much because right now moving things around is going to be harder because of the high poly that we have on this from the Dynamesh, because we didn't want to lose all the details. But it's harder to move things around because we move stuff around, it's messier. It's just kind of bumpy and stuff like that. So not ideal right now to make big changes. If you want to make changes, you have to go really big brush. Only to make big macro changes like that. But for something like this, these little details, to make these a little bit more detailed, especially where we can probably use some more detail in the nose, and to like carve away stuff like this is okay. Cool with that. We're losing some resolution on this plane right here too, so we can that back in a little bit. Nose, I'm okay giving that there. I can probably do some on the lips as well. Give some volume back here. We can also really exaggerate that crevice a little bit more because it'll add detail inside as we use the damp standard on it. So we can see that kind of the story starts to look a little bit better. Add a little bit more here. The bottom. Let's see how like that's a little bit bumpy now. Maybe a little bit too much. Bring that back in. I think that's even much right there. Something like that. I think it's cool. But I do think it's starting to get a little messy. We'll add a little bit of texture and then leave that before we get too carried away. Because most that's going to go away in the ZRemesher. But I do think it looks a little bit better. I do want to maybe try to clean up this eye corner too. See if we can sharpen this up a little bit, smooth it out to just unify some of those planes there. Cool. And then yeah, cool. So carving this, it's called the caruncle, I believe is what it's called. Weird thing on your eye. I remember for whatever reason when I first started learning 3D, that was something that I was just very sure that it was important in making a character. I think it's because I did a lot more portrait stuff back then. But for whatever reason, I was always like really trying to figure out the right way to make that piece of geometry in the eye. Now I just kind of throw something in there. I don't really think about it too much. And honestly, like if I'm doing eye stuff also, usually I have like a set of eyes that I use for things already that has it built into the actual mesh, and has all the shading figured out. Once you do it enough times, you really don't need to keep doing it all the time unless you want to. It's specifically something you're trying to go for. Okay, I don't want to get my forms too messy in here, so I'm gonna give some geometry there, but I do like how this is right now. I'm gonna actually go ahead and turn Sculptress off. I think it's probably gonna hurt us more than help us in this spot. Get too detailed, but I'm okay with that. I think that's cool. And we can bring that down slightly. just for the expression. I think we can using alt to carve instead of if we use alt to carve instead of build, help the clay build up, start thinning that out a little bit. But see, right now it's very high poly, so it's a little too much texture I think that we'll get right now. Could adjust the clay buildup a little bit, but I'm okay with just getting all this in place, and then we'll adjust when we have lower subdivisions in a bit. Like that. Okay, cool. Okay with that. I think maybe just lightly like this. Make it a little droopier to kind of make it those more tired looking, like I was going for. Bring the corner to that corner. Should have a little bit of an angle downwards angled. Okay, try to get the game standard to help define some of these planes, but it's just very textured. It's very dense there now. I'm okay with that. BPA. Let's turn on BPA to get paint in here. Turn off mRGB. Just get. Oh, there you go. Turn off mRGB. Just want to paint out some of this. So we put on there. I think that's distracting a little bit. Now, at this level. Yeah, okay, cool. So now we kind of cleared that out. I can actually see what's going on here a little bit more. I think this needs a little bit more of a defined plane here. And then you can do, I'm going to use H polish just to try to see if we can get this plane back a little bit cleaner. H polish again, see if we can get that in there. Cool. I want to bring maybe this a little bit back. It's not as thick. Cool. Very bug-eyed right now. We want to, let's see, we'll pull up the skull. Set spin right there. I think we can bring those up. But cool. I think we can go something like this. Bring it back slightly. Maybe it's a little bit more. And then we just big brush. Move everything back together. So. Cool. Okay. So a little messy over here. I think it just probably got, like, we look at the thing. Yeah, we can see how dense it is in these areas. Don't want to push that too much more, but I think I'm okay with those as like a good default eye. We can go ahead and no, save this as. Actually, no, yeah. Let me do this now. Okay. I'm gonna save our sketch. Save that real quick. Cool. All right. Cool. We got this character kind of sketched in now. We're gonna go ahead and duplicate her again. We're gonna turn the bottom one into zero mesh. We're gonna do, I think I said 3, 4. So we'll keep that. This is the new one. So zero mesh 3. We can look at the, see how the poly count jumps from 271,000, and if we after the zero mesh, it should be 6,000, which is much more manageable. I'm actually going to turn solo on so we can see specifically what this is. Ew, that's gross. Okay, let me see what I can do. I know I said I don't do this, but I think some ZRemesh guides might actually work. BZ ZRemesh guides. This is ZRemesh guide, and it's been a long time since I've used these, but I believe you just kind of lay these down. Ooh, thunder outside. Nice. This storm. We'll see how that goes. Is it like this? Cool. Yeah, so that's one guide there. We'll do another loop around the mouth. Because essentially you just kind of start defining all your loops that you use on the character, which ends up kind of just being the same thing. This is not animatable. Sounds wrong. Animatable. I don't know, I guess. But yeah, you can't animate this. But you still can get us. I mean, maybe you could animate this. I would not use this for animation. Ready stuff, but maybe. Cool, something like that. Just put a loop around there. Everything else, eyebrows have like something like that. Yes, what are you? Okay, there we go. That worked. I think eyebrows have like this loop right here. This face mask. Okay, something like that. That should be fine. Let's try doing ZRemesh now. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. I haven't done this in a long time, so I think that's how it works, but I don't know. So let's go ahead and see what happens. This is one of those things that I don't use too often, but might be helpful. Okay. Okay. Kind of gross, but I think that's better. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's actually pretty decent. I don't love. Actually, no, that's not bad. That's not terrible. I'm okay with that. Okay, cool. I think maybe we can move that out there. Ooh, that's kind of gross. No, it's not. Never mind. That's good. Okay, no, I'm okay with this. I think we can live with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and now we did this. I have this. Technically, I have the. Ooh, turn that off too. And turn the eyes off. I had, if we unsolo it, we can see what else I have on. I have the top one on. I also had the eyes on, but we want to turn those off. And we want to I had the arms on too. We want to turn those off because if I solo and we click on this one, you can't see that it's on, but the little eye icon's on, it's still on. So we turn eyes and arms off, but I'm going to keep the this top high poly one. We can kind of jump back to this. So we see this is the high poly messy one. So now we want to take this high poly detail and put it on this low poly detail. The way we can do that was with the project, but with this clean topology, we're gonna go through this right now. But I like to turn solo on so we only see the bottom one. It makes it easier to tell when something breaks on the project, because things usually do break. But if we go to project over here and I believe this is subtool of the tool menu, this is the subtool one. Projectile is right here under project, and there's settings you can change and whatever. I'm gonna keep the polypaint on because we did that already. There's settings and all that you can change here. I just keep it the regular piece. What we can see already, if we go from here to here, it really didn't do much because we're at the low level right now, so not gonna see much here. But usually it's good to just go through from the lowest layer to the highest one. So now I'm gonna go ahead and subdivide this with Control D. We can see we jumped from 65, or it's not 60, 66,000, 6,600 and then we're going to we'll subdivide it. We're going to jump to 26,000. And we see we subdivide and it's really messy. You know, all the stuff gets smoothed out and everything. But now if we do project all, we can see that, okay, now we're getting the detail back that we had on our project. But we can see that the topology is still very clean. And the best part about this is that if you shift D, we jump back down to our low topology. And at this level, we can make big changes. So if I want to add more detail, like right here to the neck or something like that, we can see that changes big. But if we jump up into the higher levels, like we're not getting a bunch of just extra texture and things like that. And this is one of the biggest benefits of sub-D sculpting like this, and using some clean topology and zero meshing and things like that. Sometimes it's even nice to start on a clean topology just to get, so you can jump through all the subdivisions and then even retopologizing after that. But for this one, we're gonna go ahead and smooth or do a Control D again. So we jump from 26,000 to 106,000, and so now we can see at this level we're starting to get higher detail. If we do stuff, we'll start to actually get some higher detail. It's harder to smooth out, but it can still do some decent stuff. We can still see the topology is all good and clean underneath. But I'm gonna go ahead and project all again. We didn't have a super high poly one, so project all here may not even look that good, because okay, this is the difference between this and this. A little bit more detail, but we actually aren't probably bringing that much in. We'll do one more Control D, and then try one more project all. See if there's any more detail. I mean, we're getting a little bit more detail in this. I think it's fine to take it, but there's a certain point where, like, yeah, it starts to get like kind of more messy than it's worth. Obviously, we still have all these artifacts from the last subdivision. See all this. I'm okay with smoothing this out, because it's harder when you get the higher levels too. It's a lot harder to smooth things out as well too. You can't make those big changes without doing it. But right now we're at 1.7 million, so this is super high poly now. But at this level is when you can start doing, you know, like little details like wrinkles and stuff like that. Will start to lag your computer too if it's not very good. But this is nice to have. I almost don't want to take this level yet. I'm gonna stop at 427. I think if we want to subdivide it, I think we can. We don't need the projection on that one. I'm okay not taking it. I'm gonna keep it at 427 is the high right now. I don't want it to bring it up that high just yet. I would rather work on these lower ones. But yeah, so we can go super high poly at 427,000 and all the way down to 6,000, which is really nice because you can make these big changes just like anything, like real big changes now, and it's pretty easy. But that's also why I didn't want to get the arms locked in yet, because I might decide maybe I want to make her shoulders really broad or something like that. I mean, we turn solo off technically too. We can move her, move her arms. Move her arms to the new location and things like that. But we don't want to actually, do that just yet. But what I do want to do is, now we can also see here, if I go up to the highest poly count on this bottom subtool, this new clean zero mesh one, we can switch it out with, turn this off, switch to the Dynamesh one that we're using, the original one, switch it out, and you can see that switching between the two, the details pretty much at the same level. The topology is just way cleaner. It's actually kind of actually probably more detailed than this one now because we subdivided it so much. But we see here, we can see how messy it gets and all that. But if we switch to this, we can see how clean that topology is right now. It's really nice. That's the really big benefit of doing stuff in ZBrush like this. But we can also now at this point jump down here, so we make some big changes. We take this one and just make this Dynamesh. We'll name it Dynamesh Finish. Film sketch. We'll just bring this to film sketch. And then I'm gonna go ahead and save. We're gonna turn this Dynamesh one off. We don't need that one anymore. We can pop the eyes back on now. It's gonna look probably a little weird, especially at the lower ones. We'll have to adjust some things. But we'll go ahead and save this. Sketch, cool. Okay, so now, the low subdivision level, not a huge deal, because it's just not gonna match that well. But at these subdivision levels, we can probably start cleaning up the eye topology or the eye shape and everything now. Get it a little bit more what we want. We have more to play with now. But it's easy to make these big changes if we want to adjust the eyelids and things like that. It's a lot easier to do that than it was before. And I think I actually want to bring something I think that we're missing is maybe some build up here for the fat that's kind of building up. It builds up around there. I think it's very skeletal, more so than I wanted. But see, it's really easy just to add a bunch of volume right now. And I think I want to carve this away to be a little bit more rounded, I guess. I'm not really sure what I'm going to achieve there, but it doesn't feel rounded enough yet. Cool. Maybe I have to pull this up a little bit. Looking at some reference I like. Like this, I think we can do it this higher level, but I think adding some more of this creasing in here, and maybe just more of that skin wrapping around. This is more tertiary detail that you probably don't need to get to yet, but just to add in a little bit so I can kind of see what we're doing. Really cool. We can start to bring some of these. I like to bring some of these sharp edges back in, keep it a little more stylized, have more defined planes. But see, at this point, like if we want to move the nose a lot, we can really make some big changes to the nose, and I think it's a lot easier to do at this point. Bring this nose bridge back a little bit. I'm gonna keep it still jutting right there, but I want to bring it back just a little bit. I do want to keep measure the face. Let's see where we're at on these face proportions. So something like this. Nose, eyebrows about right there. Bottom nose is about right there. Nose is longer than the bottom half of the mouth, or bottom half of the face, which I like. Please take this. Nose is also longer there. I'm okay with that. I like that. I think what may help too, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna go to BPA for this. The paint brush. Switch it to MRGB so we can copy over the material and color. We'll just make it like slightly yellowish, just very slightly. Okay, cool. So now we should have copied that material, which is this toy plastic material that has some of that specular highlight, and the color, which just gives a little bit of something. Honestly, I'd probably make it brighter. I'll just go ahead and make it like just regular white. Just trying to make it a little more realistic. Oh, not that. A little less. But I'm okay with making it like that. I think it looks better. Bring this back in. Cool. Now we have eyes that start to look a little bit more like eyes. I think that we can also bring the eyes down a little bit, maybe. Okay. Define that a little bit more. I think we can bring this a little bit, maybe add some more, a little bit more volume, but let's actually bring. Ooh, dumb. Okay, that's what was causing the issue. Okay. on the wrong subtool. I was like, that felt a little weird. Yeah, wrong subtool. There we go, better. I think bring this up, bring this here. I think it's raining hard outside right now. Please let my trees survive this. I need to cut them very badly. Okay, cool. So it brings, I think, maybe a little bit more volume here, just to keep this transition from not being so harsh. We're gonna get a little more of the bone up there. I think also just kind of bring some of this back into. And maybe bring the brow down. But yeah, eyes are something you can work on forever. I mean, there's so much character in eyes. It's really like really subjective on what looks and what's right. I mean, there's certain rules that for sure matter, and anatomy pieces you want to get right, but at a certain point, it's just kind of however you want to make them. Especially how, depending on how stylized you want it to be and things like that too. Okay, I want to bring this out in a little bit. Let's go down to the lower subdivision. Maybe not that low. Let's go to this one right here. I can make this big movement without making it too messy on the higher ones. And then I want to go ahead and define this a little bit more. That arcane, I don't know, arcane gap between your eye and the nose around, or the skin around your nose. That arcane, the really defined line, which I do like a lot. I think it's a really cool, lane change right there. I think it looks cool. Okay, cool. I'm starting to see like a little bit more of a character in here now, which is cool. I think maybe I can lower that slightly. Almost wanted her eyelids to be just like half closed. And I think before I do that, I think what's going to help here, I'm going to define some of those nose planes a little bit more too. I'm okay going a little bit wider here, bring this in, make this soft, and then maybe bring that like that. I think is cool. Cool. Face is very flat. From this angle, let's go down. Maybe something like this, and then just bring all that back a little bit more. The upper eyelid should be slightly over the bottom eyelid. So in this part right here where it comes over, it should be this upper eyelid right here should be coming out more. I think that one I'm like thinking about it more. I'm not 100% sure that's accurate. I think that's right though, but it could be wrong. I could be fully making that up and just that one stuck with me because I always think that every time I'm working on stuff, but I'm maybe making that up. I cannot guarantee that I'm not. Cool. Okay, I think I want to bring this in a little bit right here, like the reference I'm using. I like the way it kind of comes in like that. I want to bring in, I guess, I think it's almost like tendons near the tear duct. Let me see if I can do something like, I think I just want to bring some volume back in here. Yeah, something like that, maybe. Because the eye doesn't fully, it wraps around the sphere, but not entirely. Like it's not completely just shrink wrapped to the sphere. It kind of will wrap further around this way, and then will taper, I guess, or flatten out when it gets closer to the inner corner. So I just want to see if we can capture some of that. But we are starting to fight geometry here. This is because it picked up that plastic, toy plastic material for some reason. We could fix that by if we just go to, it could be something on one of the other brushes, but if we go BPA, just switch it to just M, so it's not affecting the color that we've already kind of established here. It's just affecting the just the material, and we are on the basic gray material right now. So now I just filled it in, and it shouldn't drift anymore with the material unless we have a brush that it's affecting the material. But that's just ZBrush stuff. That's mostly just for personal preference, because usually you're not going to render in ZBrush, and it doesn't matter that much. Some people do render in ZBrush though. I'm not one of those people ever. I do not like the ZBrush renderers. I know you can make them look better. I know there's ways to combine composite images with a bunch of different lights and stuff, but I don't like it. I don't love it. It's not my favorite. Okay, just trying to sharpen up that edge a little bit. We're just gonna keep messing with this eye until we feel like it's doing something the right way. Ooh, do that. I kind of want to bring this up a little bit more too. Yeah, I like that a lot. So bring that up in this corner a little bit, and then bring this maybe like this start to come down like that a little bit. We can go a little bit lower. I think that's too detailed, but we can start bringing that volume. This is starting to get into like smaller forms, which we're close to getting, but I don't want to do that completely just yet. Cool. I like that though. Starting to build that in there. I see like right here it gets kind of lumpy. I want to see if we can carve that back a little bit. Let's make it a little bit cleaner. I think that's okay. I think almost, yeah, something like that. Moving that around is cool. Cool. And one thing I think that we need to do, and I think this will help. I think it's kind of lumpy right here too. Let me see if I can fix this. Just carve that plane back a little bit. And start to define that. Hey, Ultimate Dawn Gamer. It's going good. Working on this ZBrush sketch here, and hoping my power doesn't go out because it's raining really hard outside. How you doing tonight? Let's see. So, like this, but I think what's going to help here, we're going to go back to the BPA, so it's going to go back to the paintbrush. We'll keep this on so we can see what we're doing. And I'm thinking, let me see the transparency on this. The eyes need to move maybe a little bit more. So if we go BPA, we're going to get a dark color for these eyes. Let me see if I can go to reference for eyes real quick. We'll do something big and sketchy. And we'll just do some like a brownish eyes. I think that's fine. So what we're gonna do here, so we can actually see what we're doing a little bit more, is take this, color. We're gonna get like a really dark desaturated color. We're just gonna make a, oop, this is not the right, that's right. Oh, we're gonna do material RGB, no, not RGB, RGB. We're gonna get this paint and we're just gonna start to add some eyes in there. Super super big for the iris, so I'm gonna go a little smaller. I know that the center of this sphere is about like right there. I'm gonna keep it really light right now, just get an idea. Probably move it around. Cool. Doing pretty good. Oh, we have a power surge earlier. Hope all will be good. And, oh, you had a power surge too? Yeah. I'm hoping that we don't get one tonight. I don't know. It sounds pretty bad outside, so we'll see. Where are you at? You're at a place where you guys actually get big storms. We don't get storms too often, so when it happens here, it gets a little bit crazy. Illinois. Okay, yeah, you guys do get some pretty good storms out there. Nice, but cool. Glad it seems like your power surge isn't still happening. What part of Illinois are you in? I think I only know like the big cities, but I've only been I think once. Cool. So okay, let me figure out these eyes. I think looking at these eyes, I think maybe too big. Let's see, about 40 miles from Chicago. Oh, nice. I actually have a friend that's working near Chicago. I guess in the suburbs too. Right now, that's kind of cool though. Do you like? I'm going to Chicago soon too. But how do you like where you're at? Cool place to live? There's somewhere else other places you've lived that are cool? Okay, so we need to. Okay, what are we doing here? I think I wanted these to be wide. I think I want to actually make this a little wider. So I'm maybe gonna go ahead and pull this out a little bit. Make this wider. We're gonna have to adjust all this. Loving it, been here my life. Snow can get wild, but it's it's really nice there. I can't imagine being in real snow. I'm from Texas, and when we get snow, the whole state breaks down. But I would think it'd be cool most of the time, other than the winter times in Illinois. But yeah, the snow is one thing that a little tough for us. Haven't really been in real snow, like a real city that functions in snow. But it is a cool part of like a cool state to be in, though. I do like the weather, well, at least the times I've been, which it's been pretty nice. Well, cool. Is there anything you recommend out there too? Since I will be technically over there next couple months or so. I think I'm going for vacation. Weather in Texas is hot most of the time, and it's big. It's a big state, so there's a lot of different cities, a lot of different climates everywhere. It definitely depends on which part of the state you're in, but most of Texas pretty consistently just hot as hell. And then where I'm at, it just gets very humid too, which is not a fun combination when you can't really escape, can't really cool down from the heat because it just stays in the air all the time. Feels nice. Okay, I'll definitely keep that on my radar. Portillos. Pillows? No, I'll definitely keep them on my radar. I mean, I think like there's so many good restaurants out there. But yeah, and I definitely need to start making a list a little bit more. Well, that's cool. But do you do any art? I assume everybody that comes to art streams does a little bit. Okay, these eyes are looking crazy right now, but I think we can fix this. Okay. So then, yeah, mostly concept art. Oh, that's really cool. 2D stuff, like concept art and things like that, is something I'm just getting into. Last, I guess, not just anymore, but these last few years, I was 3D for a long time, and then recently started getting into more 2D stuff, so I could concept things out a little bit more. But that's really cool. I think it's definitely a very cool. Nice. Yeah, I learned Maya. I started on Blender because it was just free, but I learned Maya a little bit. I took a class just to like figure out Maya out a little bit, and learn the more traditional way of doing things. It's a cool tool. I did like Maya. It's a little wild to look at sometimes. There's so many different menus and things like that everywhere, but it was cool. But ZBrush, yeah. Mine's cool. Like ZBrush, yeah. No, I do like ZBrush. ZBrush is I think my favorite tool to be in. Besides Blender is probably the other tool I use the most, just because that's where you put everything together. But no, ZBrush is one that I've used for a pretty long time. But yeah, took a break to do a lot of 2D stuff. In the last few years. Haven't been in as much, so this is kind of getting back into the swing of things, but I do like ZBrush. I think it is the most fun I have doing 3D is doing sculpting. It just takes a long time to get things to look right. I won't Blender, just see. No, yeah, it's a skill that definitely, like, you have to keep up a little bit, because even me sometimes I'll go back into Blender after a break and I'll forget it a little bit. A lot of stuff to learn in 3D, but Blender is really fun. I do love Blender. I think it's still always going to be, even if it's not like the most efficient at everything, and not the industry standard, I think it's always going to be one of my... Ooh, dang. That is my phone telling me it's going to flood. But yeah, I think Blender is still one of the coolest ones, because you still can do so much, and it's got a great knowledge base, especially on YouTube, and pretty good community. And it's free, which is crazy. Okay, starting to get something there. I think we can start to build a little bit of the character now that we can kind of see him a little bit more. Yeah, okay. But surprised how fast it opens. Yeah, it does. It does open pretty fast. It is very much it feels a lot more lightweight than some of the other programs, especially like Maya. It's a little clunky, it's a little heavy. You can feel the weight of Maya and all the stuff it's built up over the years. But Blender's pretty lightweight, although when I first looked at Blender, I think back in, like, I was trying to make like Oblivion mods back in the day, and I was trying to figure out how to model things when I was probably in middle school or something like that. Opening up Blender back then was crazy, and I thought it was just me that just didn't understand it. But I recently saw like an old UI picture of Blender and realized Blender just used to be nasty too. It was crazy how insane it used to have, the UI used to be. Definitely is a very, very complex tool at one point, or at least visually. But you said you do like concept art and things like that. Is there anything specific that you specialize in? Any projects that you've been working on or anything like that? Okay, so I gotta try to get this in there. I'm starting to get the face a little bit in here. It still looks nasty, but it's gonna look nasty for about 75% of the time, and the last 25 is where it starts to actually look like something. Okay, cool. Feels like a little more character though. Nice. Miles Morales. Which style of Miles Morales? Like the Spider-Verse one, or like the game one? There's a lot of cool versions of Miles that have been out recently. But I think like Spider Verse one is definitely one of the more iconic ones right now. Spider Verse, nice. I am pretty hyped for that new movie coming out too. Although it's been forever, almost feel like it's been too long between the movies. But still gonna go see it when it comes out. But no, I think the Spider Verse one, that's a really cool style to work on. Such a good, I think, piece of just art. The movies from all the animation style that came out of those. I think that movie and probably Arcane are some of the biggest. I think some of the biggest movies in the actual like 3D and art field. The biggest influences, or maybe not just influences, just big cultural shifts in the way people did art after those. Yeah. But no, I do love the Spider-Verse style. I think it's really cool when you combine 3D and 2D in a lot of the stuff they do for that. Ooh. Nice. Okay, cool. Starting to look like a person. Trying to see if I can push the stylization a little bit, but they keep making it because I want. Yeah, I think that even if they don't keep making those, that studio is probably still gonna be making some pretty cool stuff. I think they might have, were they the same ones that worked on not Arcane, on the K-pop Demon Hunters as well? Like I think it might have still been a similar Sony studio. I'm not sure, but that one also has a pretty cool art style. But no, it would be cool if they keep doing, like, even if they don't continue like the Spider-Verse directly story or whatever, because I do think that this might be like one of the last ones. But if they can at least keep similar stories and in that same style and with the same team, I think that would be really cool. But it would be super cool to work on something like that. Your director is a color artist at Marvel DC. I've been keeping in touch with also his art. Oh, that's really cool. Which artist is it? Are they like a well-known artist or just someone that you know personally? There's some pretty cool artists these days. Oh, that's a spam. I need to fix up. I'm gonna keep pushing some of these planes right here. Hicham Hibachi. Okay, cool. I wonder if I've seen that name before. It looks vaguely familiar. Super cool dude up and doing. Okay, cool. No, I'll have to check out his stuff. Check it. Actually, I can do it now. Let's do it. Let's see what we got. A little detour. But no, there's a ton of cool comic book artists. Oh, I have seen this guy before. Let me switch screens. Switch to my default screen. Nice. Okay, cool. That worked. That guy's cool. That's some cool stuff. I think I've seen his stuff probably on Instagram or something like that. I don't think I would have known the exact artist, but I think I've definitely seen his stuff just around. Cool. He's got a really cool style. I didn't realize he actually did some of the stuff for Mighty Nine. That's cool. Probably why I've seen some of the stuff. Nice. Oops. Don't want to go back that much. Love, Death, and Robot stuff. This is cool. This is some really cool art. I like how angular his stuff is. Man, I just recently started learning 2D stuff. Or not that recently, but you know, been a journey to figure it out. But even when I think I'm starting to get the hang of it, and you look at someone else's art and you're like, dang, this is fire. Way further away from where I'm at. This works at EA. I'm surprised that he's able to hold on at EA. EA's been pretty rough with some of their layoffs too. I mean, the whole industry right now is getting hit with a bunch of layoffs. This is cool. I like this a lot. I really liked it. I guess I've already been in his work. This is nice. I like this a lot. Cool. I'll have to check him out some more. But yeah, no, there's been a ton of layoffs in the game industry for a bit. It's crazy seeing how many artists have had to move around. But that is cool though. What do you do for work? Are you in the industry at all? Or like have any projects like that going on? You trying to get into any specific industry? It's always cool to see when people are trying to do stuff, like actually to get into specific projects and stuff like that. Because I am not in the industry, and I've always really liked doing art and dedicated a ton of time to it, but it's not my actual career, sadly. And go ahead and get these planes more defined in there. Cool. Okay, cool. A little more defined. I'm gonna go ahead and let's give some actual irises to this character. BPA, get the RGB in there. We'll keep it real light right now. Let's give us a real. I'm actually gonna make it darker, and maybe a little more defined on this piece. This is not completely. Okay, I can live with that. And then if I want this to be a little bit of brown, somewhere around, we'll go about right mid-tone brown like that. Yeah, something like that. And then we go darker brown, a little more saturated for the top piece right here at the top, and then maybe just slightly more right here for some of that highlight that comes down in the eye, and then we'll go dark for the. Well, it doesn't need to be fully black, but some dark like that for the iris, the pupil. Get that like that, and then get some of that shadow on top that casts shadow from the eye. Yeah, something like that. And probably even paint something like the fake highlight on there. Yeah, we don't need to do that right now. We can use the highlight for the actual material piece. I'm looking to get into the game industry. I work at a place called Time Mission right now. It's like a video game arcade. It'll do until then. Nice. That sounds pretty cool. Time Mission just sounds like a cool name in general, but no, that is cool though. I think that's really cool. Actually, one of the better jobs I've had. Nice. That's pretty cool. But no, I think that's cool that you have like a plan. You have like a goal, I guess, for what you want as a career. If you could, I guess, like dream scenario, what's like the place that you want to go to? Where do you want to end up? if you could pick any place, or like game, or I guess even movie project, to be a concept artist for, what do you think you'd want to do? Carve this in here a little bit. Bring that over. I need to clean up that line a little bit too. I'm working at Insomniac Games. Name is Spider-Man. Yeah, dude, Insomniac Games is cool. The new Wolverine looks pretty cool. That they're coming out with. But Insomniac looks really would be like a really fun place to work at. That's a cool one though. Definitely still in the Marvel family too for a lot of those kind of projects, which would be really cool to be part of. I think I'm not sure if I knew they made Ratchet and Clank. I think that's like, I don't know, I maybe kind of knew that. I don't know if I actually knew that until right now. I knew they'd done more stuff like older games in the past, but I don't think I actually knew which ones. That's cool. I didn't realize. But I never played a ton of Ratchet and Clank because that was more PlayStation, and I did not have a PlayStation when I was younger. I think I played one of the newer ones though. But I think the Spider-Man games are really cool. The first one especially, I think really I had like a really good time with that one. It's just a all-around solid and fun game too. Your favorite games? Let's see. So favorite games, I think currently my go-to is still gonna be the one I end up going back to the most right now is Cyberpunk. Lately, I guess not lately, like the last how long has it been out? Like 5 years or something, maybe even more than that now. But yes, Cyberpunk's usually the one I go back to. I played through. I think I've only fully played through once. Yeah, it is a great game. I played through it fully once. I haven't played through since they updated it and they did, the new DLC and things like that. I haven't actually gone through, but I still played a decent amount just because it's cool from an art perspective. It's cool from just just the story. I think the characters are really well done in that game too. I think that was one of the first games I played where the characters felt very much like main story characters felt like their own people. I really do love that game. Lore is also really fun too, especially if you do stuff. You read the stuff outside and get the tabletop games and stuff like that. It's pretty cool stuff. But I do love that one, and I've talked to some of the artists on that game too, just for questions on how they did some stuff. Because one of the cool things in that game that was really cool with the way they did their materials, it's something I've been looking into since I've been trying to get more into the game side of things, like doing like game engine stuff with like Unreal and things like that. But one of the cool things that they did in that game was, in order to have such high quality on their just different materials on the objects and on the clothing and everything, they used a ton of tiling maps instead of like actual textures. So instead of manually texturing something, they used a bunch of really small tiling maps that they could seamlessly tile all over, and just a bunch of little micro normals and things like that. So instead of having one outfit that has a specific texture that's really defined for that just that character or that one outfit or whatever, it's not just one piece that they textured and everything. They have just a bunch of materials that they pull from, and they used different masks to like determine like which parts are going to be leather, and they just use their leather material, and they can get really detailed with it. Um, and it's a really cool way to like you build up your material library instead of your actual texture and everything individually. So you have a bunch of small textures and actual files for the textures. Um, yeah, I think it's a really cool way to get some really cool like detail. Actually, let me pull it up. I did a ton of research on it for a while and talked to some of the artists about it, because you can swap things around all over and just combine things really easily. But that's how they're able to make so much of the city and everything too. So high detail without overloading, memory and processing power on the GPU. Cyberpunk. Let me see if I can find something. Okay. But it's a great game. It is really cool. It took forever to come out, but it is a great game. And one of the pieces that I'm actually working on, Cyberpunk 2077, for just my own personal projects in Unreal and things like that. One of the things that I really liked in Cyberpunk was when you get to when you actually do new cybernetics, and you can actually see how it changes on your body and visually and things like that. But there's only like 3 or 4 different levels of like different mods you can get that actually visually appear on your body, like on your hands specifically, right? So one of the things I'm working on is trying to see if I can make a pipeline for my characters that I could switch out cybernetics visually. Just to, if I have it Unreal, I can make one cybernetic arm, and I can switch it out visually to multiple arms and things like that. So that's something I've been trying to play around with, and just to learn Unreal also. I don't know if I have it set up too much right now, but let me see what I got currently set up. Yeah, this is still very rough in progress, but this is like my base mesh that I've made to start testing this out. Very just roughly thrown together right now, but the idea was essentially we create this base character, and there's also I can use in other characters, but to define all the different areas where you would switch out parts, basically. So if this character, I kind of defined all these different polygroups. So if we need to turn something off, we can turn this off and then attach something to there. So this is kind of the process, and this is me getting just a test arm in there to connected everything up, and run through some of the stress testing to see how the seams are and stuff like that. But I have to pull my Unreal to see if I can show it more, maybe at a different stream, because I do want to kind of go over what I went through to do it. But I do have it, was able to get the character in there. Basically everything becomes its own body part, and you can turn anything off. So if you have clothing and things like that too, you can turn the chest off and just turn the shirt on instead and things like that. But yeah, defining all these seams and stuff is kind of where I've been working on for a little bit. And hopefully we can get something that animates really well, and I have a whole pipeline that I can use for just different characters and different animations and things like that in Unreal. But Unreal is definitely still a learning curve to get into it. And definitely still learning a bunch of different pieces for that, just an animation and things like that too, and making different animation rigs, and I guess like functions that you use for animation to make things match up correctly. But it's been really cool. Yeah, I know it is really cool. It's a cool engine. There's a lot of cool things you can do, a lot of powerful tools they have in there. It's just a matter of getting past the learning curve, and also not trying to go learn too much at once or do too much at once, because it's really easy to get really bloated and overwhelmed with all the features if you try to use them all at once. But there's a lot you can do. I think it's going to be really cool, and I'm excited to see what comes out from the Witcher I guess next game that's coming out, because CD Projekt Red is using Cyberpunk developers, uh, but they're using Unreal instead of their own in-house engine because it was a lot of work and to get it to work with like Cyberpunk and things like that. So they switched over fully. But the way that they did stuff is not the way that Unreal does stuff by default. But I think they're gonna try to keep some of that workflow, like kind of like the using a bunch of materials to texture things instead of full textures for every single object. I think things like that Unreal's not built for right now, but I think a lot of that's gonna end up coming into Unreal because of the way that they've been developing Witcher. So I'm excited to see what features we get from that. Even some of the demos they showed with the Witcher demo they did recently, there's a lot of cool stuff that they're already working on there. So I think it's going to be definitely something that's worth looking into next coming years. But we'll see, because Unreal also is trying to pivot really hard to a lot of AI stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Cyberpunk, yeah. Going back to the original question, after that detour, Cyberpunk, great game. Other than that, I mean, Bethesda games were always my favorite too growing up. And then what else? Another one I think would be Mass Effect. That was also one of my main ones growing up, and one I've done some fan art for that one too. Another great game. I did recently play Dispatch though. That one was actually really cool. I enjoyed that more than I thought it would. Wait, I don't know what this character is gonna be. Okay, we got something there. I'll go ahead and give some more. Eyelashes so we can kind of have it stop looking so weird. What else have I played recently? I haven't been playing games as much. It is what sucks about having a job. It does take a lot of time and responsibilities. I did play Resident Evil 9 though. Resident Evil 9 was a really cool game. I think had some really cool art direction in that one too. I think there's some really cool techniques in that I wanted to try to recreate in Unreal. Like with specifically a lot of the materials they use and things like that. And some of like the zombies in that game were really cool because there's not that many. It's in the beginning, so they're all more unique and they have some definitely have a lot more character I think to them, and even the way that they the dismemberment system for those it was really cool. I think they did a really good job of making that whole first section feel really unique for like a zombie game. It wasn't just like a regular shooting zombie game. It felt just more personalized, I guess. So that was a lot of fun. But I guess yeah. What about you? What would you say your top games are? And I don't know. I obviously the Insomniac games are really cool, but what else are you did you play? Okay, what am I doing here? I think we need to get this a little bit thinner. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Feel the character in that. BPA to go to the Paintbrush. Let's see, Splinter Cell 7, First Light, Uncharted series. Uncharted series is really good. I did like that one a lot. I think I played through all of them. Played through most of them at least. Tomb Raider series, that one's actually really good too. That was also one that I enjoyed more than I thought I would. Batman Arkham series. Batman Arkham was a great set of games. I remember playing Arkham City back when it first came out. Was so cool. Being able to glide around and everything too. The movement and combat was just really good in those games. Story too, art too. Actually, art even on the last one, the Arkham Knight one. The art still looks great on that. The graphics look great on that. It's kind of crazy. That's a good list of games though. It was really solid. Let's see. So this. Have you made any art pieces that were like directly inspired by some specific games too? Like for like concepting and things like that. I feel like that's where a lot of us draw our inspiration from. Okay. Alright, been on the face for a while. It's time to start pivoting to something else. Maybe make a EA. Oops. Get some more aggros in there. Feel like Ratchet and Clank deck. Yeah. Oh, the Infamous series, man. I remember that one. I don't know if I ever actually owned that game, but I played it with like friends a decent amount. That one was really cool. That's a throwback. I haven't thought about that one in a long time. Yeah, I remember. I think the older games though, like they were a little bit, like a little bit more. They were a little less forgiving than some of the newer games. Like really old games, I guess, were even worse. But even some of the older like games during like 2000s and stuff like that, like on the 360, some of those were a little harder. I think now games are a little easier sometimes. Depends on what you're doing, I guess, or which kind it is. But I remember playing when I was like really young. My stepdad, he played Morrowind, so I started playing Morrowind with him, and I was very young. That was a really tough game to try to learn. Games used to be a little more complicated back then. These enemies were crazy. Yeah, Crash Bandicoot. That one is tough. Even I remember playing that one a decent amount when I was younger too. Unforgiving, those old games. It's cool though. It did feel like way more accomplished whenever you finish them though. Because I remember, I think one of the big things with older games too is when I was like younger was that boss fights felt a little bit more like boss fights in games. And I know some games still have it, like the Elden Ring and like, you know, Dark Souls and all that still have boss fights that feel like challenging. But I think like a lot of like, I remember being when I was younger, like a lot of games when you get to the boss or whatever, they were kind of hard still. Like they weren't easy to get past. I feel like now when you get to the boss, it's more thematic, I guess, when you get to a boss in like most modern games. Then it's not like necessarily challenging like older games were. Sometimes the final bosses are actually easier than a lot of like the side bosses and things like that. I think God of War was another one that I liked a lot. That was kind of a recent one that had it. I at least felt like the combat was really good and the fights were challenging, especially depending on like how you played, like difficulty you played on. But that is also a game where I do think that the boss fights, even though they are better than other games, I think they definitely were more enjoyable as like a boss fight. But I do think even in that one, like main boss fights weren't as hard as like the side quests you could do for the boss fights. Those were always like really tough. in the first God of War, or not the first God of War, the first of the new one, God of War 4, the Valkyries. I spent so much time trying to get those down. Horizon Zero Dawn fights. I that's one game that I've always heard such good things about, Horizon Zero Dawn, and I've never played it. And I think because I didn't have it was on the PS4 maybe at the time, or one of the PlayStations at the time, and I just didn't have one at the time. But I've had a PlayStation for a while too, and I just for some reason never played them, but I've only heard like good things about them. It's something I do need to try at some point. Yeah, oh man, I need to try it. I'll probably give it a go soon. I think that's one that every time someone talks about it, I always feel like I'm missing out on some. There's like a pretty good game in there that I've missed out on for a long time. Yeah, because especially if it has some good combat and stuff, I really want to try it. My ammo and shields, but still challenging. That was good. I do want to try it. I want to, especially now, like especially knowing the combat was actually challenging. I think that's something I want to try. Dog, okay, make sure I don't run over my dog when I scoot up, because she always likes to get right underneath my chair. But no, yeah. What other games are there that's good? Underwater levels. It depends on the game. I think most underwater levels aren't great. I think when I play like Mario and stuff like that, I never liked underwater in that. But I don't think I've played enough games that have underwater levels that it felt significant enough. Underwater is scary though. Subnautica, I did play Subnautica a while back, but Subnautica was terrifying. I didn't realize a game could be that scary when it wasn't necessarily a horror game. I think out of all the horror games I played, for whatever reason, that one makes me feel so uneasy. Yeah, I think that was definitely like one that got to me. Okay, I don't like them at all, especially when I'm trying to. Yeah, no, I think maybe when I was younger, I think I would hate. I wouldn't like. I think when it was like timers and stuff like that in water levels too, I think I didn't like that either. But I haven't played a game that has had a underwater level, I think, in a while. I'm trying to remember the last game I played that had one, besides Subnautica. I think, but Subnautica is a terrifying game. I did like that one though. BioShock was underwater, but it's not really underwater levels. BioShock was also a really good game. I loved those when I was younger. I was just thinking about memory cards the other day because I saw, I think, a post where somebody was showing the graphics that were like the little images that they would put on the memory cards. I forgot about that. I like my GameCube memory card. I think it's something cool about like inserting a memory card too. I think that was a really cool. That's a really cool, just kind of physical feel. I think even just having discs and stuff like that was cool. I don't remember the last time I've actually used a disc to play a game. Everything is just downloaded now. But I do like. I do like the old school feeling of having those like physical items for your tech. One of the things I was working on for some concept stuff for some of the bigger projects, same project I'm working on for like the modular character for the cybernetics and stuff like that. I think it started as like a, honestly, I think it started as like a D&D setting I was working on, but I really liked the idea of having more of those physical hardware, that kind of retro sci-fi hardware. And so I think when I was designing a lot of the stuff, I was using like game cartridges and things like that to kind of define some of the aesthetic of things, because it's just cool to have like I feel like it's cool if you have like a tactile like object to insert it into something for tech. It just makes it feel more grounded. like cassette tapes and things like that are cool too back in the day. Not as convenient for sure, but it was a cool feeling to it. But yeah, game manuals too were fun to look through. They had stuff in them. Hasn't been I haven't seen a game manual in forever, except for my brother's save when I was young. At 11 slots, and yikes. Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely understand that pain. I was the older brother, so my little brothers would definitely overwrite. Oh, dude, I didn't even realize you followed. Thanks for the follow, man. I need to get better about setting my alerts on things. Stream's still in progress. Still figuring out, different tech issues here and there, but I think I have. It's slowly getting better. Slowly improving each stream. But yeah, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate that. But yeah, no, my younger brothers overwrote my stuff all the time, and I would definitely be upset with that. Back in the day, it's crazy. The concept of not having a lot of memory either on games and stuff. I remember being on my GameCube and having to delete the things, like the little, because there was like little animated graphics for each thing, and I had to delete the games or to make room and stuff like that. Because I mean, how much memory was actually in a, let me see, in a GameCube memory card? GameCube memory card memory size. GameCube memory card size. But the memory cards just look so cool. Oh, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was that bad. Memory card gray was 512 kilobytes, 59 blocks inside the memory card. That's crazy. Memory card 251 is the black memory card, which I think is the one that I had, the black memory card, but the 2 megabytes is crazy. I didn't realize they were that small. That's crazy. Memory card white. I don't know if I ever saw that one. 8 megabytes. That's the biggest one. That's crazy. That's insane. I don't even know if I have any of that anymore. I wouldn't think that I would have gotten rid of them, but I don't know. I might not have those anymore. I weirdly feel like I might have traded it in or something like that for probably nothing. I wish I kept it. I have VHS tapes still in a VHS player, but I don't know if I actually have any of my old systems. I do have Game Boys though. I somewhere around here. I just found I found like a Game Boy Color game recently, or I think like yesterday actually. I don't have this. Let me grab one. Let me see if I have one. Yeah, I actually do. I have a Kim Possible Game Boy Advance game. I have Golden Sun. I remember this one being pretty hard. I think it's like a JRPG. This is my stepdad's, and I remember playing that one. It was fun though. It was complicated. And then as old Batman Beyond Game Boy Color cartridge, which this one's really cool. I like the Game Boy Color cartridges. I didn't use them much, but they still fit into the Game Boy Advanced, I think, or whichever, the next one. But I do like these. The clear plastic, I think it's super cool. Clear plastic on these old tech is like really cool. Oh, that's crazy. How many pins is this? These PCBs aren't even that complicated either. Oh, there's ZBrush. Switching to the screensaver to Mog. Mog is with all the good art that people do. These PCBs are really actually pretty simple. I'll probably trace that out. Yeah, no, but I do think these are really cool. I think I played this one too. I don't remember. This is Ubisoft back in the day. That's crazy. Old school logo on that. But yeah, no, that was like, I think the first console I owned was the Game Boy the Game Boy Advance, I think, which is that kind of same shape as the Switch a little bit, but you know that rectangle one. Sega. Nice. I don't think I ever had a Sega. I think that was a little bit out of my. I think when I was a kid and got my first one, I think the Game Boy Advance was like what had just come out when I was old enough to play games. But I did play Sega. I played Sega games on something. I don't know what I played them on. Like the old school Sonic and things like that. Like I know I played it on something. Maybe my PC back in the day. I don't know, because I know I've played through those a decent amount. I have no idea what I played them on though. But yeah, I think I want to say the first game I got was probably a Spider-Man game on the Game Boy. It was like Mysterio's Revenge or something like that. Super fun game. Did not ever get that far in the game because it was kind of tough, and you had to use a password to save your progress and stuff like that. Yeah, could you? I don't. It was. I remember it being a side scroller, so pull it up. I'm pretty sure Spider-Man Mysterio's Revenge. I want to say Mysterio's Revenge. Yeah. I say this is one of the first ones, but I played some stuff on my PC too when I was younger. Mysterio's Revenge, Game Boy. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, that I did play that one. That was a 3D one. I did play that one. I might have played that one first. But this is the first one I played. Let me see if I can pull it up. Go back to my So it was like this one, Mysterious Menace. That's what it was. Mysterious Menace. It was this Game Boy Advanced one. There are images of it. Mysterious. Yeah, it was like this. It was like a side scroller, like this one. Yeah, this is the one. It was like this side scroller where you go like this. This was on the Game Boy. I liked this a lot. Didn't beat it, but when I was in, I think high school or something like that, there was like a emulator on like you can get on your phone, or if I jailbroke it or something like that, and it had that game on there. And I actually, because you were able to save at any point, make save points, so I was actually able to beat it like that when I was like a lot older. So it was cool to actually play it through and complete something that I could never beat when I was younger. But the other one, I think the one you're talking about, the one you couldn't go on the streets. This was a 3D one. What was it called? Because it's the one. Spider-Man. Monster. Spider-Man. What's it called? I think it was this one. I'm trying to see what this one was called, because I remember at the end of this game, Doc Ock turns into like he mixes with Carnage, and it turns into a monster Doc Ock Carnage person, and you have to run away from him, and it's super scary. At least when I was young, I was terrified of that. Spider-Man 2002, Spider-Man, or not 2000, just 2000 game. Yeah, I think it was this one, because you couldn't go on the streets. It was like orange. Yeah, I think it was this one. Oh, cool. Yeah, this I think is the one. Shoot, let's see if I can find. Yeah, because I think I remember being orange like that. Yeah, yep. This one's really cool. I did like this one a lot. And I guess that was a clever way to have it where you couldn't go to the ground because they could not process all that. Yeah, no, that was a cool one. I like that one a lot. I played that one a lot. I think I might have played that before I played the Game Boy one. But I remember that there was also a there was like a bomb in the beginning that you had a timer on, and I remember that scared me a lot growing up too, or when I was little playing it, because there was like a timer. You had to like move the bomb into like safe well, before the time ran out and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that one I also failed a lot. Um, and I would play. I think it was the point where I would play a lot around that mission, and then just wouldn't do that until I get like somebody older to, like my cousin or my stepdad or something to come do it for me. Brother and I was back. Yeah. I think my brothers are too young at that point to actually play. When I did play with my brothers, I would always do the, classic older brother thing where you just gave them an unplugged controller. And then yeah, and they never really caught on. And then there was some games, I remember there was this one Sonic game, I think, that, I don't even know what was on. It must have been the GameCube, because I think that's what we had. But, there was one Sonic game, or it was something like that, but it actually, like, when you put a second controller in, I think it was maybe Shadow the Hedgehog on the GameCube. But you put a second controller in, and for whatever reason, it just lets you control like the companion that was with you. It wasn't meant to be like, I don't think a multiplayer game, but if you plugged it in, it just would control the second player. So my brothers would actually play. The camera didn't follow them or anything. It would just let you control them, but it would still be centered around like Shadow or whatever. I remember that being a weird feature, because I don't think it was a multiplayer game like at all. But yeah, I remember that was actually worked out pretty well, because they also couldn't really do anything important, so they couldn't mess it up. But I remember it was cool though. I think growing up, it was cool to grow up and be able to play like split co-op games. On the same TV. Everything was so was actually so local back then, and now it's all online, which is just kind of different vibe. It's weird to go to, grew up kind of going to a friend's house to play games and stuff like that, and can't do that anymore as much, at least. Sonic Heroes, which one was that one? Because I did play another one. Let me look it up really quick. Sonic Heroes. Sonic Heroes, is this the one? I think I played this one too. I think my cousin had this one. I played this one. Yeah, I remember this. I also played, I don't know if this was the one, but which is the one Sonic game that has the truck that you're running down a hill away from a truck, and it plays like a song? Because I do remember playing that one a lot with my cousin. And then the Chow Garden or whatever. That one was also pretty fun. Okay, let's get some. Alright, let's get some rough hair on this person. I need some accessories or something. It's been very much just kind of in the same spot. Let's see what we're gonna do for this. A good, decent concept. Maybe something a little bit more. What are my references over here? I'm thinking maybe something a little bit more. this is the part where actually being able to draw and concept things out probably was better. Would be better for a character or something like this to actually plan it out a little bit more, and then you know, build from that planning phase. But this one's just kind of a sketch. So all right, let's just throw some stuff on and see what happens. I'm gonna go with a simple. I guess let's do hair first, because that was the point. Was this was supposed to be that we do some hair? So I'll find some hair for this. Brother and I still watch each other play games. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. You guys still do that. I think it was definitely like gaming used to be felt like more community based, I guess, than it does now. I mean, it's still community based. You still do a lot online and stuff like that, but like, I don't know, I think it was something about being like with somebody playing a game was cooler. Like I remember playing Halo a bunch too, in person with people. That one was fun back in the day. Borderlands also was one that I played a bunch with my friend in middle school. Like on the same TV. We'd come home after school and then just get a pizza and just play a bunch of Borderlands together, and that was fun. I feel like there's not the same vibe anymore. What do I want to do? Let me go pull up Pinterest. I'm to pull up Pinterest and actually start searching for stuff. Always ends up back at this. I don't have good references. I guess we can share Pinterest, see what we can pop up on here. Do another reference dive. Something weird, something. Something I can build from. Very much. Let's do just character. What's up? Let's see what we can pull up from here. Maybe something a little more sci-fi. That'd be kind of cool. Just filling my brain with a bunch of chaos right now. Hopefully something sticks. Okay, I've got kind of direction. We power through. Back to ZBrush. Good chaos. Yep. That's a lot of art ends up just kind of being throw stuff and then see what sticks, see what happens. I think with this character though, I'm just gonna give her some basic hair so we can at least have that and stops looking as weird. Yeah, it's been a while. It's the first time I've been in ZBrush. The last few days, for the first few times I've been actually doing stuff in ZBrush again. For a while. I used to be able to knock these out a lot quicker. But it is also different to work on things and talk at the same time. I think that's something I'm getting used to with this streaming. Getting better slowly, but like it does take It's definitely a skill to be able to talk and do stuff at the same time. Some people are really good at it. Not something that I've done in art that often, but it gets easier. But I used to knock out ZBrush sculpts like really quick at one point. But now since I've been drawing it, I've been doing that's where the focus has been. But it's still it's just something I think I just need to get back into practice with. Okay, I'm just gonna do really basic here. I just need to put something on here. So what we're gonna do that is we're just gonna mask out scalp. We can go actually a lot lower poly like that. Mask out the scalp. We'll just mask all this out, and then we can bring that forehead, that hairline up a little bit. That was kind of crazy. I think we can do that. Cool. Cool. Oh, this is weird. Okay, we do something just very plain. That's weird. Okay, mask this out a little bit more. Like that feels fine. Okay, then we go mask out all this area, and then we're gonna go ahead and we are going to extract, which is subtool, extract, yeah, something like that. That's way too crazy. Extract. Why is it coming out from there? Where's it coming out from there? Oh, weird. Oh. It's really strange. I don't think I've ever seen it done like that before. It's flipped. Display properties. Just double it. Double the size so we can see. But I don't think I've ever actually seen the normals flipped like that. That's weird. Nope, like that. Not project, extract. Like that? No, this isn't right. No. Weird. Is it too low poly? Okay. I have no idea what's going on with that. Let's clear all this. No, it's just this. And then try this again. It's just too thick. Oh, that's what it is. It's weird on the thickness. There we go. That makes more sense. Okay, 0.1. Yeah. Okay, we can do something like that. That works. I'm gonna go ahead and accept that, and then bring all this back. I'm actually gonna go ahead and turn Sculptress on. Turn this really big. Do a real low. Like a Morty haircut, honestly. Really low resolution for this, so we can just move it around a lot. Cool. So pull. So we bring that up. I think I can go ahead and bring these eyes up a little bit more. Yeah, let's see what we can do. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna turn sculptures off because we don't need to move that around too much anymore. Much more detail, and then we're just gonna start building the volume of the hair, and people, it's gonna look like just a weird little blob of a hat for a while, and then it should turn into something at some point. Set the, yeah, so about right there's where we're gonna set the hairline, and then I'm probably going to bring this down to at least get the initial volume. Maybe something about right there. Bring it back a little bit more behind the ears. I'll taper it more like this towards the back, and maybe just out right here. And then I think I'm going to bring this side back. Oh, I can do that without. Make a side part kind of like that there. And I think maybe bring this back here. Create the flow right here. Follow that flow that way. This just giving it very basic generic hair. Nothing too interesting with this one. But it at least starts to look more like a character with hair. Hair is definitely a big deal. Hair and eyebrows definitely do make a character feel like a character when you're working on a sculpt. I'm sure you probably made some characters with your art too. Those are the major pieces. Eyes. I mean, eyes are a huge one too, but eyes are just like one you need to have in no matter what. So that's just kind of by default always going to be important. But I think the other pieces on the face besides that are going to be like eyebrows and hair. Just has a lot of character, I guess, like expression in it. Big for like the silhouette too that you're working on. It's very generic hair, but let's give at least some color. If we went, it could be crazy to do something like that. But like dark brown for now or something, maybe like a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna do this. That's good enough for right now. We don't need. Oh, I gotta go see my thing behind my camera. Need to move that somewhere else. Yeah, cool. This is at least something. Go ahead and Dynamesh this. Now, where did my Dynamesh go? That's crazy. That's gone. And we need to probably rearrange some of that. We'll do Dynamesh the long way, so we come down here. We're gonna go to Dynamesh and turn this to maybe like 32 resolution. Yeah, that works. 32 resolution, that's pretty good. At least gives something to work with. And then if we wanted to, we can start adding flow for the hair, which would kind of start flowing like flow down here, would flow back here, and then swoop around here. Really rough in there. If we want to make it look better, we could use some curves to actually start adding some depth to like hair like this. But I don't know if we're gonna keep this hair. It just needs something there so we can see a person in this. Okay, kind of seeing something there. Let's go and bring this. I want to bring this back up a little bit more. I remember when I first started sculpting, this was like hair was something that I was so sure that it was like a very big secret to figuring out how to make it the right way. And there is like definitely some techniques, but a lot of times now it's just kind of like throw some shapes together and it'll look fine for a while. A lot of hair is just basically like big shapes, especially when you're drawing. All you got to do is really just draw some pretty graphic shapes and pretty golden. Like that. You're right. Okay, let's give you something to maybe something like this. Individual hairs, yeah, individual hairs. That's the go-to in the beginning. It's always individual. Individual hairs in the beginning. And if it feels like it's the right way to do it, because you're doing all the detail, but yeah, eventually you kind of just like, yeah, all you need really is just a big shape, and doesn't even need to look like hair that much. You can put a few strands, and that's kind of all you really need a lot of times. Not that hair is both pretty complicated and not that complicated when it comes down to it. Let's see, so if I go here, do I have my 2D? I'm gonna find my other reference page that I have. Reference, that's what I wanted. Yeah, it's giant reference. I have like a huge reference file that has a bunch of different artist references on there from a bunch of different artists, but I kind of want to pull some good inspiration for some style stuff. Running through all these, I think I want to pull some from Andrew Russell. He's got some cool stuff. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling something like this. Okay, I can vibe with this. Let's try to extract something like this. We're just going to extract a sort of just full bodies kind of shirt or something. I don't know. Extract here. We're going to put thickness down to 0. Make this not double, so we just get a very skin tight thing. And then we can just adjust it. We'll accept that. Cool. Going to from the center. If we center this here, we can just expand slightly to give that volume. Ooh, I kind of like. Interesting. Maybe something. We can do something with this. Okay, let's do. We're gonna go ahead and Z remesh this to like 5, something like that. Z remesh, and then I need to move my Z remesh stuff down here, but we'll just do. Yeah, something like that. That's easy to work with. Cool. Do that in. I'm going to bring this up here a little bit more. Okay, let's see. So if I do this, I can bring this really close to the neck. Move that out to get a little closer, and then we can probably Z remesh this again so we can get that a little cleaner. Let's do Z remesh. That's good. Cool, okay. And then if I control this, project, we go to subtool, we go to project, and then we can project all, whoops, not the color. Project all like that, so it gets a little closer. This needs to be a little closer still though. Back here, make it slightly larger, move things out, BIN to inflate. Actually, it's a weird little shape right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and take that for something. Maybe we can use that for something else in the design. I think that's kind of cool. Actually, I'm kind of seeing a shape all around here. Let's go ahead and just Control D this. I'm kind of seeing the shape here. Kind of like the Dead Space rigs on the back. Maybe something like that. Let's go BIN. Do this a little bit more. Kind of see a separation we can make here. We can go ahead and bring this out. Here. Sharpen this up, make it like kind of like shoulder pads. I think I actually want to go ahead and separate these completely out. I can make like an armor piece for that. I want this neck to go higher up, maybe be like a little bit more. I want the neck maybe to be like a little bit tighter along the neck, the actual, actual neck. Really just wrap that form a bit. Cool. Cool, okay. Seeing something we can do there. And then this front piece. You can see if we go this piece right here, we can follow that. We bring this up more, do something like that. Draw down. Oh, keyboard's dead. That's what's going on. There we go. Cool. Okay. This, and then I think we bring this up here. Let's see what we can do. I like this little piece that made itself here, so I want to carve that out. I kind of like these as little circle pieces or something. Maybe we can carry that over to the front, adding something like this. Kind of following that anatomy. Feels like almost like this should be its own piece now. We have like padding or something like that there. Follow around like this. Thinking maybe this is just like another, yeah, something like that. Cool. So I think if we do something like that, get that back kind of pad here. And none of this is all just ideation. And a lot of times I wouldn't do a lot of ideation in ZBrush for clothing and stuff like that, but I think this is definitely something that drawing helped a lot more, because you get used to doing things quicker and just coming up with shapes and silhouettes, things like that. Cool. This part here, but we'll just throw some fabric kind of things here. For some reason I feel like there's like a seam right here. I don't know what that would be, but it looks kind of cool. I'll go ahead and take that. I'll carry this seam all the way up, because I think that separation would be kind of cool there. And that's purely what the reason for doing a lot of stuff in art is, just because it looks kind of cool. I guess we'll carry that seam down all the way there, maybe. Keep that separate. Dang, it is, what time is it? It's not even that late. I went to bed at 4 last night, so my energy levels are so shot. But that's, yeah, just, I don't even know what happened. I think it just started, I was listening to my audiobook and didn't take any melatonin and just ended up staying up forever, and then had to wake up early at work. Oh man, I do miss being in college and being able to stay up late doing stuff. Yeah, when I was in college, my peak hours were like 3 a.m. was when I would get anything done. But yeah, whenever I got a job, and they don't let me do that for whatever reason. Crazy. But yeah, new GTA looks pretty cool though. I was just finally watched the breakdown of that. Like even just from like a technical standpoint, graphics look pretty crazy. And I was looking into one of their systems they have on the game where they basically do. They patented it too, so you're able to actually see some of the. I was able to find some of the details on it, but because you have to write, general tech, and when you do a patent, but basically they have like a bunch of different sizes of characters in the new GTA, and a bunch of different body types and things like that, but. In order to be able to share animations with everything, a lot of times you have your characters just be the same same height, so they can all kind of fit the same animations and same skeleton, same all that stuff. But since GTA is doing a bunch of different sizes of characters and things like that, they patented a system that basically they do like, and they probably do a lot of animation still, but they are able to retarget animations on like the fly. So not like something you have to do in Unreal. That's like a whole process. They just have it like built into their game engine. So they need to retarget something for like someone who's like 5'6" compared to like someone who's like 6'2" or something like that. They're able to make the animation still match up the right way because they define like interaction points on characters and things like that, and able to use like different skeletons based on different skeletons that aren't all having to be the exact same proportions. So it's just pretty cool. I think that's definitely something I'm going to look into a little more for Unreal, because that'd be a cool system to build into the pipeline we're trying to work on. Yeah, I know the game looks huge. I mean, I'm sure it takes, it took forever, or it did take forever because it's so big, but it's going to be pretty insane. I think some of the tech that comes out of this. But I think it did take what, like, came out in 2012, 2011, I think. And the last one, so it did take a good chunk of time. People who basically have only ever been alive for one of the GTAs. Yeah. Is what, like a kid in high school right now? How old is a kid in high school? When were they born? Kid in high school. Age born. That's a crazy way to do that. So kids in high school are 14 to 18, which means that they're roughly between 2008 and 2012. So yeah, so I think last GTA came out in, I want to say 2012, I think. So there's kids in high school that are gonna definitely buy this new one, but have only been alive for like one GTA forever. Graduated in 2012. Oh, that's cool. I think I think I was like a sophomore. No, I was a junior. That's sophomore in 2012, I think. Yeah, so that must have been when GTA came out. So because I graduated in 2015. It's been a little while. That 10-year mark came up pretty recently. Felt crazy. It feels crazy. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. It is insane. One of the things like I would like to say, especially after COVID, because COVID really like just like smeared all time together. But like I would say like a lot happened in high school time, and like all those like 4 years, like it feels like so much happened, and I can still, define like points in my life based on those years and kind of what I was doing. I remember what I was kind of doing with my friends and things like that. I remember what was going on. That's a small amount of time, but yeah, since I've been out of college and working and doing all that, like it's been more time than I was like in high school and doing all that. But I genuinely cannot really like pinpoint the years that much. Like it just kind of all blurs together. There's not a lot that like I can be like, yeah, this definitely happened in this year, outside of when I was in school. It just all kind of blurs together. Even the amount of time I've been at my company that I've been at, like the LinkedIn is the only reason that I remember how long I've been there, and every time I get the notifications that a new year's passed, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like I could have possibly been there that long. It is crazy how time flies. Okay, there's something here. I don't know what's going on for all of this, but I'm feeling like there's something we can make here. I kind of want to keep that double ab that we have on the body kind of embedded in here, but in this design. But maybe we can sharpen that up so it's more like padding or something. I don't know. Yeah, I definitely, I do still feel like part of me still feels like there's probably a better way to handle the homework thing in schools. Because yeah, I mean, I think that's because that's what you really needed. Like, in order to like do okay in school, all you need to do is basically just do homework, especially in high school. But I feel like a lot of the homework was also just kind of busy work too. Um, I don't know. I feel like there's a better way to handle that. But I definitely don't miss all the homework either, especially in college. The homework in college got kind of crazy too. I remember being up for days at a time, like getting like just a few naps in between, being up around the clock, working on different homework projects and things like that in college, and that was not fun. The worst project I had in college too was right before COVID hit. I mean, college was definitely chiller than high school for me. Um, I can see why you you can feel like that because yeah, I think it was definitely it was harder at some points, but it was way more chill about everything. Like the professors and like we had harder assignments and things and projects that did take forever, but I didn't feel the same amount of pressure I felt uh in high school. I feel like in high school I had teachers that were so like strict and like would always really be like, oh, in college you won't they won't let you do this, and like you got to prep for college so hard and everything. And then in college, like a professor, like one of my professors was literally like, call me Keith, and was very casual about things. uh so it was way more chill. I think the work was hard though. But yeah, I think the professors were way more chill. Except I had my chemistry professor when I did chemistry for a hot second in college. She was pretty tough. I think the lab professors, chem lab professors, were really tough. They I don't know. They were always kind of mean for some reason. Computer science professors were not that mean though. They were pretty chill. They just computer science professors were just too smart. Um, Sometimes, and didn't understand that not everybody was as smart as that. I don't know what's going on there. Something. Um, yeah, yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. College was. I definitely wish I would have enjoyed college a little bit more though when I was younger. Because yeah, once you start working, it's kind of just forever, and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, getting out of college though, when I got out of college was a bad time. We got like last project I was doing before I like right before I graduated, like my last few weeks was when COVID hit. So I did my last project was in the computer lab for days working on this with some of my partners that I was working on the project with, and then we finished it, and then COVID hit, and they're like, "Hey, you can't go back to school." And then I got my diploma in a drive-through like diploma event, and then I had to work for the rest of my life, and have been working since. So fun experience, finishing school. Yeah. No, yeah, I definitely get that. It's different when adults tell you when you're younger, and then when you have to experience it, you definitely feel the what they were trying to say. I think a lot of adults just also didn't really communicate. Like they wouldn't communicate very effectively, like the message they're trying to get across. A lot of adults like to lecture, I guess, growing up. But yeah, I definitely get it. Definitely get it when people would say like, "Oh, time flies by so quickly," though too. Because yeah, it's crazy how fast it goes after you get out of school and stuff. Yeah, in school we knew what grade. In school we knew what grade we were going to next. And life's quite different. Yeah, no, I think there really is something nice about knowing. I think knowing when you're gonna be done, and you're gonna like move on to the next thing. You know, and you have like a goal, like a clear goal. You know when summer's coming and when you're younger and things like that. You know when you're gonna change. You're gonna move. You just move on to the next thing or whatever. Yeah, and then in real life, like you just kind of don't. You don't have. You're never gonna get a break. I think that's what makes the work piece feel kind of gross sometimes, because you're just like you're just kind of going and going without any end in sight, and that's a little bit hard to keep going sometimes. At least in school, you were like, okay, let me push. Like it's even if it's like stressful or whatever. Like let me just push through this project, and then I'll be done, and I'll move on to the next class or finish stuff or whatever. You had like an end goal, so you could go really hard and give it everything, and then you were done. You didn't have to worry about it too much, or you moved on to the next thing. But yeah, real life doesn't let you do that. Real life is very much okay with just with just kind of making you run and run. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm glad that I did stuff that I did. I'm glad I did have the time when I was younger. Because even if things were tough then, it was definitely worth it to go through a lot of that. Something like this. Favorite class in college? Let's see. What one of the my last class that I did do, which was which is the one that I did a lot of work on, but I did like it. It was like a cybersecurity one because that's one of the things that I was studying when I was in college. But it was one where we had to do a lot of like it was cybersecurity, but from the like you're doing a lot of like I don't know kind of hacking I guess as part of it, and it was a ton of work. I definitely spent a ton of time doing some of those things, but it was fun. Like it was a good time to like try to like solve how to get into things, how to crack passwords and things like that. One of the projects we had was a project to recover a hard drive that had been deleted. So we went in there and had to like go and because whenever you delete something on a hard drive, technically it's not deleted, it just frees up the memory so it can be overridden by something else. So if you delete a hard drive, there's still a good chance that, or delete anything on your computer, there's still a good chance that you can see the stuff if somebody's able to go in and just connect things together. With inodes is what they're called. But yeah, so it was a cool one. Yeah, Cyberpunk hack. Yeah, no, Cyberpunk is kind of like it does hit some of that tech stuff that I like. But yeah, no, it was fun. It was genuinely fun. It was fun cracking passwords too, because you kind of set up rules and things like that, and you can crack the passwords, like brute force some of them. There's like better methods and stuff, but sometimes you just were able to brute force them. And it was fun. I remember there's one that we were doing on the school computers, but they weren't as powerful, so I brought it home and ran it on my pretty good graphics card at the time, because graphics cards do a lot of math calculations basically, and I was able to force one of the harder passwords just by like really like running a ton of basically you run like dictionaries and stuff like that, but I was able to get into that one, which is pretty cool. But a bunch of cool stuff like that. That one was a fun one. We intercepted like network traffic and things like that too, with like Wireshark and stuff. That was a cool one. We didn't do too much with it, but we learned how it kind of gets set up, and like how you can get it to like basically we learned I guess more of the logic on like what if you have malware, like this is what it can do to break into something, like this is the logic it can use to get past defenses and things like that. But honestly, like one of the big things that we learned in school for any hacking stuff, any cybersecurity stuff, doesn't matter, like really at the end of the day, like you can do these really complicated like password hacking and and things like that, like cracking passwords, intercepting things or whatever, making malware and all that. That's all like that's like the very technical like kind of fun stuff. But really the biggest thing is at the end of the day, the weakest link is always going to be people. And if you can get in contact with somebody and you can talk to somebody, social engineering is what it's called. That's the best way in. If you can physically get on like premises of a place too, a lot of times through social engineering, or just like you can like if you people will like you'll wear a vest or something like that, or you'll like just come inside at the same time somebody else is coming into like a building and things like that. Like all of that, if you can do that, and that's like a way more sure way to get any sort of information. The very very like hacky stuff with like with like coding and stuff like that is cool, and it's like definitely really fun to learn. But at the end of the day, if you can get on the phone with somebody from a company, or you can get them to respond to an email or something, that's really the way to get in anywhere, because people are always the weakest links, which is kind of crazy. And it definitely makes sense though, but it is kind of crazy that like Like that's such a sure way to get in somewhere. It happens so often. If you have a vest too, if you have a vest, you can get into like most places. Like just like a construction vest or something like that. You have that, you can get in. You can get in most places. People let in people with like construction stuff, like really, really without too many questions. If you have like janitor clothes and things like that too, that's also like a pretty solid way to get into places, because people don't really like pay attention to workers like that. Also, on the opposite end, if you have a suit, you can also get in places. That is another common way that people, if you are dressed up to look professional, a lot of people will just assume that you're supposed to be there. Yeah, it's crazy. Basically, it's like the whole Hitman thing. Whole Hitman disguise and stuff. Kind of works. A lot of people just at the end of the day just don't really want to bother with stuff, which I get. But yeah, because I remember like playing Hitman and stuff like that. It's like, oh well, like how would these? I mean, obviously it's a game, but like it's like no, people would definitely be able to, figure it out that somebody's dressing up as this person being let in. But honestly, it really is kind of like that in real life. People just, I mean, if it's a small place or whatever, they really know stuff. Like people will, you definitely be able to know something's up. But a lot of times people don't know the people around that well, or they're assuming for somewhere else and things like that. It's very much something that happens whenever you're in like situations like that, or like especially if people are trying to get data. It's pretty easy just to get in places like that. Also, people like to stick random USBs in their computers, which is such a bad way. It's such an easy way to get a virus, and it's so bad that it's such a common way to get a virus. But a lot of times, like people will just stick a USB into their computer, just out of curiosity. We'll get them, but it is very common. And I can't even imagine, like, this was when I was in school, like AI stuff was pretty new still. Like I took an AI class also, but it was still like we were still like a couple years away from like LLM models and things like that we have now. But even back then, like yeah, it was you could do a decent amount with it, but I can't even imagine like what like scams and stuff like that look like now with the amount you can do with AI, especially with a lot of people who like older generations too that do not have like the defenses, the cyber, I guess, like awareness defenses to understand when something's a scam. They were already vulnerable, and now it's like way worse for stuff like that. What I was doing? Local symmetry. But yeah, a lot of my the cybersecurity stuff was really fun to do in school. Hacking stuff was fun. It was a cool puzzle to work through. The focus was strange. Yeah, no, it is crazy how much it's really changed things in the last few years. definitely a revolutionary technology that's not going away. But it is crazy because I mean both the things that I do is career wise is computer science stuff and coding and all that, and then like outside of that, the hobbies are art and stuff like that, and both of uh, those things are at risk for AI taking over. It's kind of crazy. And it I have to say that it is for coding because we do have to use it at work. They forced it on us to start using AI for like everything because they're paying for it, I guess, or whatever. But for coding, it's not bad, and I don't know. I don't love to code all the time either, so it's sometimes I'm okay with using it, but I can definitely feel that the knowledge is seeping away the more I use it because it's like you're just not flexing that muscle. But yeah, now it's everywhere now, and companies are gonna definitely be trying to figure out how they can, replace people with it if they can. How they can save money with it or whatever. You save money. Yep. It's not even. I guess it's not even as cool as like iRobot, where you have like sentient, like, uh, sentient artificial intelligence and stuff like that. AI is like just gonna be like making crazy jumps just because it like it's just gonna like get some it's gonna get stuck on some weird the way I guess the way AI works is just kind of like it's like a reward system. Basically, it gets rewarded for correct answers, and then I guess not punished, but it's kind of punished if you're training it or whatever for like incorrect things. It's essentially how it works, but it's just gonna end up it's gonna end up like taking over, doing stuff like crazy stuff, just because it's gonna be just get into some little weird logic trap where it's rewarded, or it's just hitting whatever it's doing is just rewarding it for its parameters, and it's just gonna keep thinking it's the right thing to do, and then it'll just kind of maybe collapse or something like that in those scenarios. I think there was like maybe a that self-driving cars are kind of crazy. It's gonna be weird. I mean, there's already a decent amount. I'm sure if you're up in closer to Chicago, it might be a little bit more. Depends, I guess, on how much it moves out of the cities. But I know the like big cities, like when I've been to bigger cities, my city's not as much as much filled with them because it's not as big as like LA and stuff. But like when I went to LA pretty recently, crazy how much they're around over there. Self-driving cars, it's a cool concept, I guess. It's just kind of weird, but I mean, I don't know. People also kind of suck at driving, so I guess there's that. Or maybe it's not that much worse than some people. But it's a lot of reliance on tech, and tech is not. It has a lot of problems. It's not always the most reliable. Okay, let's see what we got. Like, maybe highlight a little bit so we can get those highlights on there. Cool, dang. Yeah, no, dude, get some sleep. Good time. I'll catch you later. Did join Discord. Nice. Okay, cool. I'm glad the Discord link worked, because it did not work yesterday. So that was a new tech thing that I had to fix. But no, yeah, thanks for stopping by. This was a cool time. It's cool chatting with other artists and just other people too. So yeah, thanks for stopping by. I hope see you again. Discord's not very active right now, but working on getting it fixed up and stuff. So hopefully that's like the next step. But yeah, I'll try to keep it going. I might do tomorrow. Not my usual day on Saturdays, but I've been trying to. This week's been a little weird on schedule, so we'll see. But yeah, man, it was good having you. Have a good night. Get some good sleep. I probably gotta get off soon too to get some sleep. Let's see, we can fix those eyes a little bit. Oh, just constantly fixing the eyes. Kind of thinking this is ended up being more of a character's kind of feeling like a more severe character. I think as I model it more and more. Feels like almost like I'm trying to get almost like Star Wars, like Imperial vibes for some reason on this one, so maybe we'll push that a little bit more. Okay, so kind of fixing the spine piece back here. I'm kind of thinking, I think I'm kind of feeling just a sort of, I don't know, it's kind of turned into like a sort of sci-fi severe character. I don't even know what I'd say this like in general or something. I'm kind of starting to get like maybe like a general or commander or some sort of sci-fi thing, but like a severe like commander or something. This is what you get when you have no plan really in this at all. I think there's something weird happening right here on the side of the eyes. I think it's just because I don't have the eyelids, and like it's definitely more sunken. I think it's maybe just because I think it's this right here. Okay, I think it's right here. This needs to come down a little more. It's coming out too much. Because if we look at the skull, oh yeah, actually let's look at the skull. Oh, I don't know, actually, maybe that's right. Basically kind of come in like this. I think go ahead and carve that back a little bit. Give her like super defined cheekbones and bring it back a little bit. I'll change this to this color to dark. Is that cooler? Make me like a gray, like something like that. Be a little less. Okay, I'm cool with that. BPA. Let's do RGB color fill object. Always all in the wrong spot. I was thinking maybe this, we can probably do something like I actually think that maybe this needs to come up here. I think maybe that's what it is. I think if we're gonna do this, it kind of needs to go like inwards like this. Then maybe we bring something up like this here. Yeah, something maybe like that. Next, all the way back here. And this comes right here. We bring this up here. Bring this here. Cool. Let's bring that in like that. I think that's kind of cooler. I don't love this face though. I was really trying to push the stylized piece here or something, but I don't know what I don't know what would have looked right. Maybe it's still just the okay, so we're gonna do B tube E T B T This is my B curve tube, right? B curve tube, curve multi-tube, curve lathe, curve surface, curve snap, clip curve. Am I crazy? There's 100% a curve tube. That has to be a thing, right? Curve alpha, freeze curve, crumple, curve alphas, curve flat, curve bridge, curve flat snap, curve multi-tube, curve pinch, curve URST, curve tube. There you go. Obviously it's at the end, and then if I do this, oh, that's right, I would do this. Okay, and then duplicate. I'll do that actually. Do that. Duplicate this. We're gonna go ahead and delete. Nope, no, delete lower. Delete higher, delete lower. Take this proxy mesh that we just created and just use this to make some eyelashes. Okay, cool. Alright, he's gonna do one side, do right here. There's a way to do it on the curve. So we do stroke. I believe it's the modifiers. Modifiers or fall off. I think it's like we do that. How's that? Nope. This way? Nope. I'm pretty sure this is the right way to do this. Curve fall off. With this. I'm like really sure this is the right way. Not that then. No. I don't remember how to do it then. Oh, fuck it. I guess we're gonna do this just kind of not the best way to do this. There's a way to do this. Okay, we're gonna do this the right way. Brush. There is definitely a way to do this. Get the hairstyle. Difference from plus and urban curve. Or whatever my curve brushes are. You can just curve over. Gotta pull up a YouTube video. Embarrassing. Oh, this is my mentor. Got a YouTube. Full as YouTube video on the other side. Okay, there. Okay. Thanks, Anna. That's my old mentor. But she has a good little YouTube video on that. So let's do delete higher, delete lower. Take this. Be the 9. That's a crazy one to put. Okay. And then we're gonna go stroke. We're gonna go to non-intensity. Intensity. We're gonna go to size, and I need to reset this. Make sure we reset. Okay, yeah. And so size, we're gonna bring this up to make this thicker at the top. So this is the root right here, and then we're gonna bring this to the bottom. This is the fall off right here. So if we do this now, yeah, okay, cool. And honestly, I think we can do it even a little bit more dramatic than that. I can almost bring it down to like right there. Yeah, I like that. Cool. So now we have that. We can actually do what I wanted to do at the beginning, which is take these. Too big, too small. Oops, that's crazy. Probably need to make it a little bigger, but their bottom pieces, but I'm okay with this. Actually, make this a little bigger. And then bring this. And then maybe like it's tiny one right here. Cool. Very cool. I kind of dig that. We're going to slide trim curve. No, I don't want to do that. Select. There we go. Okay, deleted. And now we have all these pieces right here. We can go Shift F to bring them back down. Probably delete all those curves now too. But BTD. Put that. Put a little bit more of a plane on there. That. I always, whenever it's a little bit like this, it's hard to move that. I think there's a better way to do it. And there's definitely a better way to be moving these all around. but they're just kind of messily putting these in. BSK, BSK, SH. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. BIN. Wanted this to be really graphical, but not very well done. But at least it's something there. Let's make this also just completely black. I think I want that completely on there. BPA, material, color, color fill object. There you go. There you go. That looks better. That eyelashes add a lot of character to it, though. It is nice. Oh, whoops. And then important part, flip. Alrighty. Color. So like this. Okay, and then we're just gonna put these on the eyelashes a little bit, and then we're just gonna, because these are so weird, we're just gonna go ahead and put this there, or something like that. That one, delete hidden. Okay. So something like that. Yes. Okay, something like this. Thin that out, thin that out. Okay, do this RGB. Okay. Nice. Okay. So gonna have something interesting there. I think that this plane right here, it's too, like, this plane needs to be its own thing. Cool. So if we do this, I think maybe it's this right here. Okay. Move this back, I think, just a little bit. Cool. Alright, I think the eyes are just sunken in. I think I'm okay with that. I think maybe it's just this cheek area right here. I think maybe it needs a little bit more. And I think maybe this area right here do with a little bit more as well. Yeah, okay. And then maybe this area right here. Cool. All right. Yeah, I kind of like the idea of her being like very imperial. Bring this, just get that lip. this little divot right here. I need to. I want it to be. I want it to be just a little divot right here. I want to be. Fine, but not to be like cutting. Something like that. Okay, I'm starting to feel like I like the character now too. And I think maybe also because I'm just being quiet, which is, you know, not the best when you're trying to stream. But I kind of like the character now a little bit more. I feel like I kind of locked in a little bit there. Just completely silenced, which is, you know, not the best when you're streaming, but I think kind of was getting something there. I like how severe she feels. Keep maybe make this a little sharper, but keep it good. If we're gonna make her a little asymmetrical. Does look very sad right now. I don't know if I want her to be sad. I feel like very like resting. It's just weird because usually you don't see this much of the eyeball. Okay, cool. All right, well, I kind of like the direction she's taking. Sorry, teen. I like the direction she's taking a little bit more. Okay, hey, baby girl. Okay. I kind of like directions that she's going in. Okay. Okay, it's okay. Okay, yeah. So I like the direction she's going in. I will see if we continue her more. I might do her a little more off stream. Weird phrasing. Might work on her a little more off stream, and then maybe post something with it and move on to a new project. This was kind of just a warm to get back into the ZBrush. So it's been just also off screen. It's been a little bit getting used to ZBrush, but I think we're good to start working on some more bigger projects now that the stream's kind of coming in to its own already. So maybe some bigger projects coming up. Something a little bit more interesting than just sculpting this piece kind of just messily, you know? So maybe something more defined characters are just more well thought out and planned characters than this is. This is very much a like not a well defined character. Didn't even know what I was gonna put on her. Didn't even know what I was gonna put on her head. Had no thoughts about this character. Just put some stuff together and hope for the best. But yeah, maybe we can actually look at what a real defined character would look like. Also, this needs to be maybe up a little more. Go a little lower. Jaw should be about with the mouth right there. Cool. So yeah, I'm okay with where she's at right now. Even if we don't finish her, I'm okay with this. Interesting looking, you know. Okay, but I think we'll leave that here for now. Actually, I think I'm gonna make it just a little bit. You just got too thin there, a little weird. But yeah, I think we'll leave it here for now. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Stop by. Hopefully, we'll get something more interesting set up in the future. But thanks, everyone.